Egypt is undeniably one of the most captivating regions in the world, steeped in a rich history that continues to pique the interest of scholars and enthusiasts alike. Yet there's still much disagreement and dispute around the Egyptian people's origins. A combination of talented mathematicians and successful farmers gave rise to this mysterious society, which appeared quite abruptly in the chronicles of history, yet progressively developed culturally. Consequently, it is still unknown what Egypt's early civilization was like. There are still many unanswered questions regarding ancient Egypt, most notably the controversy about the ethnic makeup of the country's population at the time. Discovering the ancient Egyptians' ethnic identity is the main goal of these conversations. Different hypotheses have developed throughout time about their outward appearance. Fortunately, representations in the form of historic paintings that decorate the pyramids and other Egyptian landmarks provide some understanding of this issue. These depictions in art demonstrate that the ancient Egyptian inhabitants had a variety of physical traits. They had a skin tone that was often brown. Notably, there are also representations of Egyptians with lighter skin tones, demonstrating the variety of this ancient culture. The sacred books provide an explanation for the history of the ancient Egyptians. Ancient Jewish traditions, as well as the Bible itself, regularly make reference to a biblical individual by the name of Mizraim, a progenitor of Ham. Furthermore, according to their legends, the Arab, Syrian, and other Semitic peoples identify a figure by the name of Mizraim with Egypt and the Egyptian people who originated there. It's fascinating to notice that Egypt was referred to by names that were reminiscent of its parent Mizraim in prehistoric Semitic languages. It is referred to as Mizraim in Hebrew and Phoenician, Mizraim in Aramaic, and Miser in Arabic. These words all have a common ancestor with the name Mizraim. The fact that the Bible refers to Egypt as Canaan, a region of Africa, namely North Africa, is another intriguing fact. Mizraim is regarded to be the son of Ham, while Egypt is said to be the place of Ham's manhood. Mizraim may be Ham's firstborn, according to certain readings, although Cush is said to be the real firstborn of Ham, according to other claims. The sons of Ham were Cush and Mizraim. It is noteworthy to notice that modern individuals who are regarded as the ancient Egyptian siblings, or at least have a shared genetic ancestry, have genetic similarities with them. The modern Berbers are these people. The Berbers had mixed heritage, since certain North Africans, including some Europeans, were also direct descendants of Mizraim, the son of Ham. Semites and other peoples derived from Japheth were also plainly intermingled with them. As language analysis reveals ethnic, genetic, and cultural commonalities between these sister peoples, we're able to conclude this. The ancient Egyptian language, known as Kemet by the Egyptians, is linguistically connected to the Berber languages known today as Tamazight or Amazigh. Biblical evidence makes it clear that Mizraim, the son of Ham, was ancient Egypt's progenitor. The ancient Egyptians were thus Hamite or Hamitic peoples, and as a result, they had a deeper skin tone. However, they did not have as dark of a complexion as certain other Africans, such as Sudanese people from Ethiopia or even Eritrea, but mostly from Sudan. Stone tools, scythes, and ships with oars were already in use during the time of the Neolithic era in Egypt, which is typically dated to 10,506 BC. The argument that agriculture was introduced from outside the continent, if people started there, contradicts the notion that humanity spread from Africa to the rest of the globe. Ancient Egyptian megaliths, which date around 1500 BC, show that Egyptians living south of the Nile were already conversant with astronomy and the civilizations that emerged in the Mediterranean and the Middle East. Egypt's Arabian or Saharan area was a Greenland during the time. Domesticated animals and wildlife were part of the daily lives of the people who lived in the northeast African oasis known as Dakhla. There would not be the desert that separated some of the Hamites to the south, such as the hunters below the Sahara, since animals like giraffes had already vanished from there. There's evidence that humans used wooden blocks to make the transition from the Stone Age to the Bronze Age. The impacts of glaciations which greatly increased the dryness of the region around the Mediterranean, may be seen in the desertification of the Sahara. The developments of these vast deserts forced hunters and animals south. However, numerous tribes gathered in the lush Nile Valley, where they could get resources and water. Around 4000 BC in Egypt, there was the invention of linen. Although it's unknown exactly when humans first started weaving linen, this linen is the oldest known fabric made by people. However, records show that the Egyptians had been cultivating it since 2500 BC. The Sahara area, which is about 400 miles west of the Nile, started to quickly expand and adopted a hunter-gatherer political culture. These people used the neighboring plateau for the production of stone tools and dwellings. They were located near a large lake that had dried up and turned into a desert. From a creationist viewpoint, it's plausible that these changes, which resulted in the oceans contracting, the construction of land bridges, and the drying out of the climate, happened while the Ice Age was forming in northern Europe and Asia. Extreme changes in the environment and geographic isolation, including the development of deserts, were also influenced by strong continental drift and volcanic activity. Ancient Egyptians had brownish skin tones, which are less dark than those of people in Sudan, Chad, and other parts of Africa, where there is a bigger racial disparity in skin tones. The ancient kingdom of Kush, which covered Sudan, Chad, and other parts of Africa, had different skin tones than ancient Egyptians, for instance. Ancient Egyptians had complexion that was more brownish, yet not as dark as modern-day Sudanese. The paintings discovered in ancient Egyptian locales like Saqqara and Beni Hassan are only one example of the archaeological data that makes it evident how the ancient Egyptians seemed. Additionally, we can see the contrast with the Semitic peoples, who had skin tones that were a little bit lighter, leaning toward beige or a little bit tan. The photos below show ancient Egyptians with brownish skin tones, which are clearly distinguished from Semitic peoples from the Middle East, who had yellowish or beige complexion tones. The distinction between ancient Egyptians and Semites is clear to see. However, others may point out that there are old pictures of Egyptians with skin tones resembling Semitic peoples. Simple migrations of Semitic populations known as Hyksos from the Middle East, notably the Levant region, which included Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, and other locations, began in ancient Egypt about 1900 BC. These groups started to mingle with the Egyptians of antiquity. We can see massive migratory surges leaving the Middle East as early as 1900 BC. According to biblical narratives, these migrations made Egypt their new home, and the Semitic populations who arrived there eventually became even greater than the indigenous Egyptian population derived from Mizraim. The Semites, who had yellowish-beige, faintly browned complexion, and the ancient Egyptians, who had brownish-brown skin, intermixed greatly in ancient Egypt. These groups of people mixed racially, and starting about 1900 BC, local Egyptians and Semitic groups started to mix. Others migrated after this combination persisted until 1500 BC. Many Egyptians ended up bonding to the Semitic peoples, despite the priests and other Egyptians' rejection of them by labeling them as desert wanderers, desert robbers, or just from the desert sands. The majority of people in Egypt today are directly descended from ancient Egyptians, who underwent extensive interbreeding with Semitic peoples, and also absorbed genetic material from Greece and ancient Macedonia. Today's Egyptians don't fully reflect depictions of the pharaohs from 4 to 4,500 years ago, who had a more darker skin tone because of this ethnic mix. Due to the extensive intermarriage that occurred at earlier eras, like as between 1900 BC and 1500 BC, we may see pharaohs that resembled Arab peoples, as well as Assyrians and Akkadians. However, Mizraim, their son, who had a deeper skin tone and a more brownish look, is where the ancient Egyptians got their start. They eventually evolved into mestizos as a result of miscegenation. That's all for this video. We'll be back soon with another informative video. Don't forget to like and share this video. To keep exploring ancient history together, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Until next time!